Hey everyone, if you're dreaming of living abroad in Portugal, then you know one of the biggest challenges can be navigating the visa process.
That's right. In this episode, we're going to be speaking with Johannes and Chanel, an American expat couple, and we're going to talk about the ins and outs of how they got their D-7 visa to Portugal. More specifically, they're going to share their story as well as how not to get the D-7 visa.
Welcome to the Nomadic Abundance Podcast, where we give slow travel tips and inspiration for living an abundant life by traveling abroad. We're Joel and Michelle, the Wandering Hartz, and we've been traveling full-time since 2019.
Now, we're on a mission to help digital nomads, early retirees, and others, perhaps even yourselves, to incorporate slow or even full-time travel seamlessly into your work or retirement life for a more abundant lifestyle. Now, you can actually find this podcast on YouTube and soon your favorite podcast app. For more information, also be sure to check the show notes where you'll find links to everything that we discussed in the episode.
So this interview is actually really long and it's jam-packed with lots of information. So we've decided to divide it up into two parts.
Additionally, you can get access to a bonus episode of this interview as well in our Nomadic Abundance membership site. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Also, you're going to be hearing some references to Albania, and that's because we filmed this during our time in Saranda, Albania.
Now on with the show.
So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us just a little bit about your previous life back in the United States.
My name is Johannes, and I am a retired police officer of 15 years. I think the last 6 years as a sergeant, I decided that this job, working 12-hour shifts, working graveyard, was not for me anymore. It was just, not just stressful, it was just very physically and mentally challenging. And so I was just, the older you get, it's just, you realize it's a young man's game. So I'm like, had to think of something different. Got lucky and invested in some rental property. And so that's kind of the way it's kind of funded my next move in life. And so once you start running numbers, if you're getting close to retirement age, I've talked to a lot of other guys that want to retire early because they want to live a better life or maybe be somewhere else or even just a better life in the United States. It's completely fine. They just don't want to do that job anymore. It's really stressful. And it's taken me, I'm not even joking, it's probably taken me 8 months to have a normal sleep cycle from what I was doing, 12-hour shifts, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or what have you. You're doing it 60 hours a week sometimes, and your days off, you're going to court. Anyway, long story, decided to retire and, live off a rental income, which doesn't have to be a whole lot abroad.
Right.
As a lot of people know. But so we just got lucky. So we just loved Portugal. And so we kind of decided to try to make our home there.
Yeah. And my name is Chanel, and I lived on the Oregon coast for over 20 years. And my sons have both grown up, and I'm an empty nester. So I decided, you know what, why not? We sold everything and living on rental income as well from my property, and thought, why not just get out of the rain and try something new and just be adventurous,
Yeah, my ultimate goal though to begin with was, I went and got a master's degree in global affairs, and I really wanted to be a diplomat. Now, the road to being a diplomat is very difficult. And after not passing the test 3 times or maybe not making an interview, I decided to bag that. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go abroad and just live somewhere else. So, but on the flip side though, I do teach criminal justice courses at our community college, which I really do enjoy. I still teach online once in a while. So if you are abroad and you do like to teach, that's another option for income. To be abroad. So
we've met quite a few people that do teaching, some form of teaching abroad. So good hours and everything else.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Right.
Write your own schedule. So that's great. Yeah. So
yeah, I understand the weather because from being from Washington State originally, I had to get out of there when I was right after high school. Actually, it's like I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it's time for a change.
Yeah, and we specifically chose the island of Madeira. Most people call it Madeira if you're expats, but the actual pronunciation is Madeira. So I don't want to offend anybody that might listen to this if they're Portuguese, but it is Madeira. So if I say Madeira, I just want to apologize in advance.
For the expats.
Yes, but ideally, I knew I wanted to live my life somewhere between the 35th parallel on each side of the equator. So it didn't matter where necessarily. Surfing's a big part of my life, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Madeira's right about the 31st parallel. So it's still tropical, it's still warm. You know, we're from the Northwest, as you said, we're from Seaside, Oregon.
Yeah.
And Gearhart, it's very cold in the winter.
Yeah.
We understand that. We've spent in the last 3 years since we did our whole selling the house and everything as well. We spent, almost 2 of those 3 years in really warm places, like Florida or the Caribbean, and so we get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to give up once you get used to it.
Oh, I know.
It's like, oh, okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the other reasons that you've decided to move abroad to Portugal, you mentioned affordability a little bit with being able to actually go somewhere that you can live on even like rental income or, teaching a little bit overseas. Were there any, do you want to expand on that, or is there any other
I think it's
reasons?
really just a quality of life. We wanted to get out and enjoy it while you can. Sometimes people, when they wait till they're in their 60s and 70s to adventure out, and they can't do the things they want to and enjoy it while you're still healthy and
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be one of those officers that retires at 60 and 62 and you're pretty much deceased by 65 or 64, and that's what, it's one of those jobs that will do that to you, so I didn't want to do that. But yeah, as far as Portugal goes, it could be very affordable. Things are changing even in the last year as far as being considered affordable, not affordable. Mostly has to do with the housing market, rental market, and things that are available and not available anymore. Because there are a lot of expats moving to mainland. Since we chose Madeira, it's a little bit of a different animal. If you don't know much about Madeira, it's an autonomous zone of Portugal, kind of like the Azores. Everybody knows the Azores. It's also an autonomous zone. I mean, they have their own president. The island is very tropical and warm. It's actually off the coast of Morocco, about 200 miles. So it's pretty far south. So
Nice.
it's very warm. The water could be warm. You could swim in it, almost year round, not quite, but essentially it's a great place to be. I mean, if you like amazing food and the culture is very,
outdoors activities. I mean, they have 2 golf courses. They're building another golf course. Well, we're big golfers, so that was a factor as well, because we wanted to go someplace where he could surf and we could golf, and that just kind of fit the bill. And the affordability, for sure, living there on the island is definitely not caught up with the mainland. And yeah, I mean, just quality of life, good food, nice people. You really can't say anything more about it, honestly. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of activities or festivals every month, it seems like. If you want, you can be as involved as you want to be there. So it's sometimes when people move, I think, to Portugal on the mainland, they find like a smaller village that they live in, and they're having a hard time. I've read that they have a hard time assimilating. So you can either live on the island in a smaller village, or you can live in the city, and everything's close enough where if you're wanting to live in the city, then live in the city and go to the countryside and enjoy the outdoor sports, or not. I mean, it's just really what you choose to be involved in and how much you want to be.
There's a lot of reasons that people leave the States and why they want to be somewhere abroad, even about, here in Albania, there's some different reasons why. I mean, a lot of it's like political reasons or, whatever have you. Isn't none of that for us. It was none of that. It's just the time to go.
Just,
It's time to pretty much sell everything we had is what we did. We're like, okay, now we're just going to live abroad for a little while. And if it works out, it works out. If not, we'll start over again.
Yeah, right.
It's not like we're unemployable at some point.
Right.
You
can always go back and work. It's just the goal is to not go back and go back to that.
And like you mentioned earlier, you're young enough that you still have your whole life ahead of you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of waiting till the last minute to go and finally go do those things on your bucket list or whatever and have those experiences. I mean, talking about like one of the reasons that we are choosing to stay out of this United States as much as we can is part like a safety issue. It's just all my newsfeed is nothing but everybody getting shot and killed and carjacked and everything else. And so, I mean, most of the places that we've been, we've felt mostly safe. Like we lived in Nashville and stuff like that. But mostly safe. I mean, when I was producing, we we did music videos and things in some pretty sketchy
Some interesting
neighborhoods.
things though happened to us in Nashville.
Yeah. But like I know for us that was a big reason too. Everywhere we've been, with our time in Portugal as well, our time even Albania here, where we're filming this from. That's been. I've never had any spidey senses haven't tingled, so I felt very safe.
You do have one story.
Oh, for here in Albania?
Yeah. Oh. I've been even talking to people that have been here 3 years or been here, like, they've never heard of anything like this that happened.
You mean the prom?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the walk. No. Anyway. The prom. I mean, I think part of when you're living abroad or you're traveling, you just have to really take things in stride as well and go, okay, well, this thing happened to me. So you can either take it personally or you can just kind of roll with it.
Tell us what it was.
And so we're walking down the prom and I noticed this man was just kind of walking, he had his hands down by himself and he walked between us.
No, he didn't walk between us.
You were on this side and I was over here.
I was on the left, you were on the right.
Okay.
He walked beside you.
Oh, he walked beside me on my
right.
right.
Yes.
And all of a sudden I just felt something hit me. And I thought I turned around and it was really shocking. It was a hard blow. And I turned around and I thought like a bird had hit me or something. And there was this man who had walked past me and he had hit me on the back, like really hard. And he was walking down the street. And so it was like, hey, we gotta confront this guy, and there was a couple behind us and they were like, no.
Yeah, I almost lost it.
He's not, this, you don't need to confront him. He's not quite there. So you have to be, okay, well, that's probably not what we need to do. But it was still like you wanted to go talk to him. And then an older gentleman came down and he intervened and he said, no, you just need to, if everybody's okay, you just need to move on.
Because he's not all there.
Don't.
Right. And it turns out we're talking to someone else about this. That if you were going to go confront somebody or were going to do something.
And it became an altercation.
If there's an altercation, even someone that's being defensive could go to jail. And it could go to jail for a while. So it's really, so now they're trying to stop from any altercation because they don't know. Even if I was going to
trying to keep you from being put in jail.
Exactly.
And it could be like up to a year.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm glad. So some of the guys stopped me or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do anything physically, but I was at least.
You don't know what he would have done though.
Exactly. And then even if I was going to do something in defensive wise, that could still be considered a crime here in Albania. So that's so it is what it is.
So you did come across things like that, just like, okay, well, what do you do in that moment?
Right.
And
well, yeah, sure. And that brings us to those cultural differences, and that's obviously one of those for Albania. Do you guys have have you noticed any cultural differences in
Portugal?
Yeah.
I would say they're some of the friendliest people I've ever come across, and whether it's Europe or anywhere else, they are absolutely hospitable. They're the nicest people.
Yeah.
I just like to see the old men there on the prom. They dress up in suits every morning, and they walk with each other. They give each other hugs, and every morning every morning. And
you mean here?
Yeah, here in Albania.
But what about Portugal?
In Portugal, they're not so much. It's a whole different culture where, they don't even warm up to us as expats or as travelers. Even they're really.
I think they just view us as temporary. So,
right.
I think.
But they don't even treat each other the same way.
That's true.
The Albanians treat each other Albanians, where they're giving hugs or they kiss each other on the cheek. You don't see that in Portugal
That's
at all.
true. We did have a gentleman down the street who wanted to show us the apartment that he wanted to rent to us. And it was a misunderstanding of, well, we already have an apartment. And he was thinking, well, you could come see this apartment. So he shook your hand and he gave me a kiss on the cheeks and he's like, I'm Ernesto and you can come and have coffee with me tomorrow. You come here tomorrow. And we're like, okay.
Yeah,
we don't know.
It's very offensive.
He was very friendly and very, even though we didn't go see his apartment, we've seen him several times since and he's been very nice and friendly. And so I don't think that Portugal the Portuguese culture doesn't really lend itself to that. But here in
Right.
Albania is quite different. So
And
it's really
offensive,
interesting.
It's offensive to an Albanian if you don't go to coffee with them. If they
Right.
offer you to go to coffee, just go. Just go.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. If you're invited, you should make all attempts to go.
Yeah, 'cause it'd be offensive
and
to-
I think in Portugal too, like our Elena, our landlord, like she went out of her way to help us buy a car. She didn't have to do that. We didn't ask her, and she's like, "Come have lunch with me, meet me." So we did all those things, and
But that's not common.
that's not
It's
common.
not common in Portugal
But-
to have just people on the street say, "Hey, let's go have coffee."
I
It
think
just
it's in general though, when you're in another country and you have somebody invite you somewhere, you should just always just take them up on it, because you're in their country and you know they're reaching out, and so I think that's just kind of a good general rule to.
And especially I feel like if they can communicate with you,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in English or whatever languages you speak, because that's also kind of rare. And we found, you know, like there's very few, you can't always communicate with people. And so when you can, it's really nice because it gives you a doorway into like understanding the culture a little bit better. Sometimes you learn, like for us, like when we were in Bulgaria, the place that we were staying at, like the manager of the place, Petya, a real sweet lady, and like she really like, oh no, here you need to go do this, you need to go do that. Like he helped us like give us all the lowdown on like when to go hiking into the mountains and telling us about the history of everything. Like really proud of that.
Yeah.
And so you want to always. I think it's a good.
Yeah,
call.
I think
Always
when
take
people
it.
are willing to engage with you, you should really make the effort. Since you've chosen to go abroad, you know, you don't go to. For us, we don't go abroad to just stick with ourselves and just be with our own people. You go abroad to, you know, try and fit in and learn about somebody else's culture. At least, you know, try and learn the language, or you know, try and take other people's advice. When they actually give it to you, you should probably, you know, take a few moments and listen. And they're not trying to impose anything on you. And some people, I think, you know, as Americans, I think we get really comfortable being just with ourselves or with other Americans or other expats. And
It's also
you have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah, and it is an effort. It's easy to get in a rut and just do your own things, but you should go out and enjoy the festivals and like talk to people on the street. If they're willing to talk to you, then do it. I mean, what's the harm, you know? Maybe they'll learn something about you and you can learn something about them, which is great. That's why you travel. So, yeah, I think that's the best role.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about doing the D7 visa, because you guys ended up going the whole route of the D7 and for Portugal. And so if anybody doesn't understand what a D7 is, it's basically an immigration visa?
Well, I'll just talk about the types of visas. I mean, Portugal most countries have like a dozen types of different visas that you can get, whether it's medical, school, work. At the very basic, and this is honestly like part of our timeline is we went to a lawyer, right? So we thought, you know, I guess full-heartedly we thought, oh, we could just go to Portugal, hire a lawyer, and then we just give them all the paperwork, and we can you know go out and you know get our residency. And that is absolutely not the case. We actually didn't even use the lawyer. We did everything ourselves to get our D7. But essentially, what he told us is like there's 3, maybe 4 types of visas for residency. Well, first you get a short stay visa, which is 90 days. That's just like a tourist visa. We ended up extending ours in our timeline just because we're applying for the D7. But there's like a temporary work visa you could get. That's aside from the D7, but it is part of the D class, I guess you could say. So it's usually 90 days to a year. It's self-employment. You know, it could be a study visa. It could even be like a medical visa if you have to be over there for a certain length of time. If you had a surgery or you know, if something happened abroad and you had to be in a hospital for a while, you could actually extend your stay there if need be. A D7 visa specifically is like a residential visa. It's specifically for like retired,
Passive income.
pensioners, movable assets, real estate income, and that's exactly what we fall in, is like the real estate income. It's pretty low bar. I think you need about 1,800 euros a month of income. And so let's say you do own property or whatnot, even if you make, let's say 2,500 or 3,000, they don't even ask you what your mortgage is on there. As long as you could prove that you're getting 2,500 euros
It's
or
based
20,
on income,
it's
not
based on
net.
income, right? And not necessarily what you might be getting on the back end.
Right.
So we'll talk a lot more about the requirements and the bank accounts with that. But going back to the types of visas, they just recently introduced a digital nomad visa. And Madeira is just rich of whole expat communities for digital nomads. And I think that one's even, you have to show income of like maybe 2,800 or
You have to have a contract. You have to prove your income.
and that was
for
the
that.
I thought the requirement was a little bit more a month in the
I think
pensioners.
it was more.
Yeah.
I think
like-
it's quite a bit more.
Like 2,800 a month.
Surprised.
Yeah, and which is interesting because I mean, let's say you could just take that money and you put it in property, and suddenly if it's on paper, you have property income. It doesn't matter. You're just 1,800 a month compared to the 2,800.
Right. That's a good point. Good
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people will probably think it's net. So you're like, oh, I have my mortgage, and then I make this income, and then so I don't qualify. But honestly, they just look at what your income is. They're not looking at deductions.
Another visa is the golden visa, and everybody's talked about this golden visa. Maybe some countries have it still, some don't. Portugal's going away with it, except for Madeira and I think the Azores, which the autonomous zones are. But it's we looked in the golden visa, and it's not for us. I'll tell you, a lot of people have these big pipe dreams of saying, "Oh, I want a golden visa because you get an EU passport and you could go and work in all of the EU and travel freely." However, if you're coming from the States, United States, you have a really nice passport as far as you're able to travel and work and apply while you're abroad throughout Europe. So I would say the cost benefit is not for us. It's just not. It's a 5-year investment program, obviously. I think I want to say that initially it's like a $500,000 a real estate investment or not, but they recently changed some of that. It could be 280,000 in low population areas.
Right.
So if you're in a low population area, you could buy a house for 280,000 euros, and then you can apply for the program.
Or if you're rehabbing a property.
Yeah, that's 350,000 euros. You could rehab a property, so it could be anywhere in a high density area, low density area. But the fees are astronomical. I mean, it's like 5,300 or so per family member per year for 5 years.
Per year.
Per year for 5 years.
Wow.
So you're gonna have to continue to re-up
You have to
this.
shell out every year.
Yeah, and
wow. That's expensive.
So very much so. And I thought to myself, I'm like, why would we even go for a golden visa, especially when you have to do all the investment in a $500,000 property or whatever the ones we just talked about. I was like, I don't think that would be for us really. So I mean, there's a lot of people that are really stuck on it.
Unless there's some really massive tax benefit from it, but
I don't know, but they're also going away from the golden visa too. Like mainland Portugal, like they're like, okay, now you can't invest here, so now you have to be out in the outlying areas where most people don't want to,
right,
move
because
to.
everyone wants to be in Lisbon,
Right, or Porto, or
I mean, it sounds great on paper. Everybody would love a second passport,
Yeah.
a new passport, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
it'd be great.
I just think sometimes someone will invest a lot of money in a company, because there's a lot of online companies out there that say, hey, we'll get you a golden visa, and it'll cost them 30,000 euros to even do the process. And that's not guaranteed that you're even going to get
Yeah.
a golden visa. There's like, no, we'll help you with the process, 30,000, 40,000 euros later. And, and they ended up doing it themselves, and maybe you may not make it.
Yeah,
So
it seems like a little bit of a gamble.
it is a
and
gamble.
there's horror stories out there that we've
Yeah.
read on some different threads of different sites and stuff, but we're just not going to even mess with that.
Yeah. But the thing about the D7 though, you have to be in Portugal for, what's the requirements for that?
For the first year, you have to be in Portugal for 9 months or 8 months.
8 months.
8 months, and you can.
Yeah.
I think you can leave like maybe once or twice.
You
And
can
have
only,
to,
in and out
in
twice.
and out twice.
Yeah.
Which, like, let's say if some family medical emergency at home, you got to go home and say, okay, maybe you could come back, but you can only do that twice in the 8 months.
Yeah.
So there are some requirements. I mean, I think now that we're approved for the D7, we should be good for 2 years, but the first 8 months of that year, we're going to be.
We have to stay in the country. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is not so bad either, because
That's not so bad.
you go to the mainland.
yeah.
We just spent 2.5 months in the Algarve, and
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
We don't even want to leave. We don't want to leave.
Right. Yeah.
But it's close, and so we could just, an hour and a half flight. We're on mainland, and you can go wherever you want to go. So it's really, it's not a bad problem to have.
No, that's
Yeah.
not at all. From the time that you were ready to selling the house, the time you decided to move to Portugal, like what was that like timeline look like as far as?
It was about 6 months. I think we were planning on it. I was getting my house ready to sell rather than rent. So we would have a nest egg to travel on, and or more of one anyway. And so we're just getting the house ready to sell, upgrading, taking her, you had a car to sell, a couple cars, just taking that time to just really go through your things. What do you really want to keep and what do you really want to sell? And we sold almost everything. We have a very small storage.
I had to get rid of it all.
For
Just
like,
get rid of it all. I need nothing.
I mean, like photo albums and, I had over 20 years of,
You kept some pretty
things in
random
one.
stuff, though. Some really, really random stuff that we don't need.
That's my prerogative.
I know.
Okay.
Well, we have a very similar story too. We had about the same timeline.
About
It's
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
March till September.
Yeah, because we had a hard kind of
Hard,
deadline.
Yeah, hard out.
Yeah, to sell our house.
But yeah, so same thing. We did a lot, very similar story. We just basically sold everything we could possibly, anything that was loose, it was sold.
And then, like you guys, we gave away a lot of things too,
Yep.
and just kind of had to let it go. You can't take it with you, and we're certainly not going to ship it overseas because it's extremely expensive. And why do you need to bring all your glassware?
I mean,
Silly things like that.
it's like,
If it's not deeply sentimental, then I wouldn't suggest like bringing it.
agreed. Yeah, I mean, we've noticed even just in our travels, we only bring stuff that we can't get overseas. Like if you need, bring a tiny thing of toothpaste because you can just go down and get one.
Yeah, you can
get
buy
all that stuff everywhere
all
you
your
go.
toiletries.
Yeah.
But camera gear, things like that, those are things that are far cheaper in the States and much harder to get, when you're traveling. So it's like you just got to figure out what stuff you need to bring. And
What can you live without?
Exactly.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Really.
we see a lot of posts and threads about people that basically want to pack up everything and move to Portugal
house,
and like whole crates, and they're asking about these different companies and stuff. Almost everybody on there says, don't do it. Just buy when you get there. I mean, surprisingly, they have IKEA and all kinds of different stuff you really want, but they have everything you pretty much need there. So I wouldn't, unless it's deeply sentimental, as you mentioned.
We have some artwork I would like to have, surfboards that we'll have shipped over, golf clubs we'll have shipped over, those kinds of things that you really...
if they're tailored for you, like surfboards and golf clubs, you got fitted. Right. When it comes down to it, though, to take your own furniture or even your own car, I wouldn't even do it. No. The cost, because you pay in taxes on everything that comes in. Oh, and it can be very expensive. I can't remember what the percentage was. It's a huge amount of tax that you're paying just to get your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a long time too. Like sometimes it can be held out if you don't have the right paperwork with it.
Oh, and you need your NIF and everything. You need,
basically all that.
You'll need a D-7 approval or something similar to get that stuff. So.
Because it's being shipped over, like on a ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not
storage
flying
containers.
over.
Nope.
Yeah.
Essentially, here's a
Right.
good rule of thumb. If you don't fly in with it on your baggage or luggage, you're paying tax on it. So whatever's going to come in otherwise, you're going to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
My mother sent me a very nice birthday gift or something. I can't remember what amount she put on there, maybe $75-$80, like what the value was.
Right.
When I got it, I had to pay 28 euros just to receive that
get the
package.
package.
Oh my word.
So whatever your value is on there, it's going to be very expensive. And she even said something like, she's like, I don't even think there's $28 worth of things in there. Like, it's like, it's so funny though. But it was a very nice gesture. I was very
nice.
thankful.
It's just something to be mindful of when people are sending you items and you're living overseas. It's like, well, maybe keep it to a minimum.
Keep it really small.
Just
You can fit it
remember
in
the
an
people who
envelope.
need to pay the taxes on whatever you're sending. So
Yeah.
less stuff is better.
And before we continue our interview with Johannes and Chanel, we want to take a quick moment and ask you to share this episode with anyone that you might know who's curious about living a more abundant life by traveling or even moving abroad.
Yeah, you can also help support this podcast by subscribing or following along to wherever you may be listening or watching. And of course, for our super fans out there, if you're getting some value out of this, you can also buy us a glass of wine, and you can check the show notes for other easy ways to show your support.
Now back with our interview with Johannes and Chanel.
Yeah, so we'll talk about our timeline. And I mean, if you haven't already heard it, this is what not to do. More specifically, like, we're a little bit naive on going a lot of misinformation from what we read on a few different sites and a few different threads. I'm not even going to get into that because that's going to change all the time. What I really want to talk about is what we did and how we did it. We did just specifically, we did the D-7. We got approved. We did it ourselves. We didn't, Linus, thanks, bud. We did it ourselves, and we didn't need a lawyer. Even though we had a lawyer at one point, we did not need it. But so I'll just start our timeline. So we had basically sold everything we had. We had some renters for your property and my property. So we left Oregon for Madeira in August of 2022. We did not apply prior. So everything that I've talked about with the D7, the VFS Global, we didn't even apply to begin with. We just thought we could go get a lawyer, get everything done and sent off. That is not the case. You might be able to get a company to do that for you, but I still wouldn't suggest it. It's very expensive, and it's still not, I don't know, it's not a proven way to do it. But however, we did leave Oregon, and we'd never been to Madeira prior, but man, we love it. So we love it. So we found a place for 2 months.
Yep.
She's actually a really good friend of ours now. But, I would say you probably need at least a couple months there, even if you don't have a 1-year lease. If you're not able to secure a 1-year lease as a requirement prior, you probably want to at least have a couple months where you're able to set that up, because we were down to the last minute of our 2-month lease before we found a place that actually worked for us, because we have dogs, which is a little bit of a different animal, but nonetheless, it was.
Yeah, that was pretty tight as far as our first, to leave our 2 months apartment. We had to move out, and to get our lease, we had a place lined up, and the owner had flown in from France, and we had a real estate friend who also is a surfer, and said, okay, I have a hookup for you. He's coming to meet you. And so we didn't look at any other places because we had guaranteed that we're going to rent this place. We show up, and the owner's outside with our friend, and the tenants decided they didn't want to move out.
Oh no.
They were like, no, we're not leaving. You didn't give us proper notice. And he'd given them proper notice, but they said he didn't. So then the law is really on their side as a tenant. They have really strong tenant rights. So they said, well, it's going to be another month. And we couldn't wait another month because we couldn't stay in the place we were at. So.
And shout out to Mario. He hooked us up the next week
100%.
and got us a 1-year lease at a really nice place.
Really nice place.
Just want to throw it out there.
And that's the thing too. When you made contact with him, you bought surfboards from him.
Right.
And then he was a real estate agent, so we just he knew this was going to happen, and he hooked us up, and kind of had the inside scoop, and so it was great. Yeah.
Back to our timeline. If you're there for a scouting trip, or you're there for 2 months initially, which what we did, we got a NIF right away. That still could take an afternoon. We went and got a bank account. So you have to get your NIF first, which is your tax ID number. Then you go to your bank account. We went with Millennium. And we wanted to buy a car. That was just the way to get around.
We needed those two things to buy a car.
Not the bank account necessarily, but the NIF.
You need the NIF.
We needed the NIF to do it. We bought a car. It's a 2004 Mitsubishi Space Star. It's a wagon. That thing is awesome. It's an island bomber.
It's great. We love it.
It works. It works for us. It's only 4,000 euros or something like that.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's been fun. It gets 40 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If they don't know, gas is very expensive on there. It's like $8 a gallon, or somewhere right around there.
There's a lot of electric cars on the island.
So it cost me about 100 euros to fill the thing up. So if you want to budget for that, please do make a budget for that. So that was our first couple months there until we started. And then we also contacted the lawyer, which basically just gave us, here's the types of visas that you could apply for. Have a good day.
Yeah.
And that was it. We did nothing else with that.
Right.
We ended up just going. So as we're looking through the VFS Global checklist, we're like, oh my goodness, we don't have fingerprints for our FBI background check. So in September of 2022, that is when we flew to Lisbon. We had to leave our dogs there because we can't just haul dogs on a plane. It's just not that easy, at least with these guys. They didn't have digital prints at the U.S. Embassy, so we had to get hard copies. We mailed that ourselves to the States. They ended up mailing it back to our property in Oregon. And and it was all sealed. It was nice. So that happened in 3 weeks, and they guarantee that would at least get done in 6 months. It could be 4 to 6 months. I'm like, oh my goodness. So we got it in 3, thank goodness, because our timeline is so short. And as you enter Portugal on your tourist visa, you have 90 days, and that is it. So as our 2 month starts looming, and we're like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? We'll talk about getting our extension, but basically we're trying to scramble to get all this stuff done. In the meanwhile, we're going to this internet cafe and printing off everything that we need. We've been there so many times, and it costs us more money than just buying a printer and ink ourselves and do it ourselves. So we would always go down there and get the stuff printed off. I would have just bought a printer. However, if you're abroad and you don't have a printer, go out and get one. That's my suggestion, and start printing all the stuff off, because you have to print a lot of stuff off. Everything needs to be hard copied. So we flew back to Madeira. We contacted VFS, and told them, and we were told to apply in person. Yeah. So we're in Portugal. We got these 2 dogs with us, and we're like, oh my goodness, okay. So the closest office was New York City. Yeah. And so we printed everything out, and here's where it gets kind of sticky for us. Right. So we're like, okay, now we got to fly since we can't apply. We have to apply in person is what we're told. Right. We're told we have to apply in person. Like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Just hand you the hard copies that we printed off and we're on our way? But no, they wouldn't take mail in for whatever reason, so we had to go in person. We just went to the closest one. So we're in Portugal.
Yeah, so you've signed up online. They asked for your home address in the States and everything. So we gave them all that information.
So as I mentioned before, you need notarized copies. Yeah. And you cannot get notarized copies in Portugal. Right. They won't take it.
They have to come from your
So
state.
It has to come, essentially. But what we thought is like, okay, so if we printed everything out, we printed our VFS application, we printed hard copies of our passport and everything that they needed, it has to be in color that we could go to New York and get it done in the States. Okay. So we go there and we're scrambling because we had like a day prior to our appointment, and we started going to some banks and different stuff. Well, New York, the state, will not notarize a passport copy. It is illegal for them to do it. Oh, wow. So, and we need a notarized copy of our colored passport in order to even apply or for the consulate to have. Yeah. So some people were going to New Jersey, and we're like, oh, I guess we could go to New Jersey and do it real quick or something like that. So it is illegal in New York State to get a notarized copy. However, there's a couple places that still do it, but they're not obviously bank officiated. Some kind of UPS store or something.
Yeah, and I actually made an appointment online. So we go there before our appointment with our paperwork, and there's no notary. And they're like, well, sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not. And it was like an hour before our appointment. So we're like, okay. So that's when we were trying to contact a notary where we could get done. Then we went to a couple of banks. They're like, no, we can't do it here. So then we contacted people in New Jersey, and we actually found somebody that would do it, but it was after our appointment, which you can go do it after your appointment, bring it back. However, so that was our fallback plan. So then our plan was to go to the appointment. So we went to the appointment in New York. With all our paperwork. We flew to New York. We found a dog sitter that came and checked up on our dogs 3 times a day. Okay. We spent 2 nights in New York, so we had to pay for that. So then we go to our appointment in New York.
Yeah, and so we went there. We had an appointment. They had pretty much all our information. We go there, and all you have to do is really just give them the paperwork. It's kind of all these appointments are.
Yeah, they check through it, make sure it's.
They looked at what our home address was and like, oh no, you can't apply here. You have to go to San Francisco.
Oh my God.
So yeah. So we're in New York for like 2 or 3 days. Our dogs are in Portugal. They won't even take it from us and mail it to San Francisco.
Right. However, so when we asked them in New York from the VFS office, we said, okay, well, then somebody came out and they said, oh, well, they take mail in. You can just mail it there. Because actually in DC, people have reported they've mailed it in DC. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll go back and we'll just mail everything to them from Portugal. So it's like, okay.
Because, I mean, we weren't just going to just hop a plane over San Francisco with these
Right.
guys
We didn't have them with us.
yeah,
We couldn't
that's
just
another
go. Right.
2,000 miles.
And we didn't have an appointment.
Right.
So you have to have an
Right.
appointment
And
ahead of
that-
time.
that
That's
might
like
take-
2 or 3 months sometimes.
Sometimes, but I think you get an appointment within 30 days.
Okay,
So for
wow.
VSF specifically, you could get an appointment within three weeks to a month.
But here we are in New York.
Right.
We don't have a dog sitter for 3 weeks. It's like,
So we ended up going back to Madeira.
you know,
And at this time, this was like October, so our visa is running. Our tourist Shenzhen visa is running out. So we actually had to go to CEF.
the immigration.
Basically, I mean, specifically, it's Servicio de, Fronteras or
Yeah.
whatever have you. So you go to CEF, you make an appointment, and you can get an extension on your tourist visa.
Okay.
And so we got another 90 days there, basically.
And was that you're able to get the extension just anybody, or because
we're applying for a
Yes.
D7.
Yes.
So that
Right.
was our excuse for having to stay in the country longer, is because
Right.
we are already in the process of
Okay.
applying.
And they didn't need a whole lot for that, honestly.
But we need bank account statements. And,
Yes, I mean, it was pretty minimal to get that tourist visa extension, but all they really had to know from us is that we're trying for a D7, we've been denied, is kind of the way it went. So,
yeah.
so we ended up, we're able to stay up until beginning of February.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, that's true. It would have run out at the beginning of February, but we left before then. But another side note to the New York trip is that since we had our FBI reports mailed to us in Oregon, so our friends had our reports for us. They had to ship them over to New York for us to pick them up in New York where we were staying. So that had to get there in time for our appointment. So there was a lot of moving parts
and-
to like, okay, now we have to be in New York for this appointment. So we have to stay at a place that actually has mail service so you can get your mail and they would show up on time.
It even cost like $25 or something just to
Yeah.
receive the mail, and then you could pick it up.
So it was like, okay, we got it on time. We had our paperwork. We were feeling really good about it. I was like, okay, we're getting it done.
I mean, it was like one successful thing after another, but also like one setback.
Yeah,
after
it was
another.
always like we got this, but then it was like, oh, but you've got 3 more things you're supposed to do. I'm like, all right,
Have a
okay.
one step forward, 2
Yeah.
steps back.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we ended up, so we're in Madeira for a couple more months there.
Because we made our appointment in
Yeah,
San
and
Francisco.
in that process, we were able to get the year lease. We were able to get that address verified through the municipality that we're on the lease and that is a rentable property, that kind of a thing. So we're able to do a lot of the things that maybe button up that we didn't do prior.
Right.
However, we had to fly to San Francisco. So we flew in February 2023, all the way to San Francisco from Madeira. We actually, since that was the last of our
visa was up.
visa was up. So our 180-day tourist visa was up at that point.
Yeah.
So it's what I call logistical stress. I don't know if you guys feel this traveling,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's like, okay,
Yes.
our visas run out. We have a place in Portugal, which we can no longer stay at if we're paying for it. And now we're in San Francisco. Where are we going to stay? How are we going to afford this on top of this? I mean, we made so many trips and did so much stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, the bank account is dropping quick.
Right. Just unforeseen circumstances for sure.
Yeah. And I got lucky. Actually, I went on home exchange. .com, or I can't remember, there's an app for it, some home exchange. So I was able to sign up for home exchange. It was awesome. They give you so many points and then you could use those points in San Francisco. We met a really nice guy that had a beautiful condo there. And so we were able to stay in San Francisco for 10 days for virtually free because the points you get when you sign up, and it's very, so that worked out very well for us.
Yeah.
And he allowed the dogs
Making
to be
it
there.
happen.
And so that's kind of how we ended up in Albania, is because we couldn't go back to the Shenzhen area. And our initial thought was we're going to go to Croatia because at the time it wasn't part of the Shenzhen, but as of January this year, it's not part of the Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
So a part of traveling is trying to pivot and just
Yep.
kind of go
Yes.
with the flow. I mean,
Being flexible,
things
right?
you got to be. I mean, you have to be willing to be flexible when you're traveling overseas, or especially with animals.
Yeah.
It's just you just have to be able to go with the flow, and
So
it's tense, but
So we got our appointment, VSF Global in San Francisco. I mean, to be honest, I love San Francisco. It was like one of my favorite cities in the world. But it was very cold and it was wet, It is what it is, but we applied in person, and literally all we did, we had this stack of application, the thing we've hung on to for months now at this point. And all we did was like, here you go. And the guy looked at it. Okay, thank you very much.
He stamped it. He like put in an order, and then he wanted more money and was like, okay, we had to go get another.
Yeah.
We had to get another traveler's check.
Yes, yeah, because
whatever you call
because
it.
as of January the fees have changed,
and we'd already had one printed
from last year.
Yeah,
because we were trying to mail the stuff, and we actually tried to mail.
Actually before we went to San Francisco. We tried to mail it because New York told us we could mail it. So we took all of our paperwork back to Madeira. We put everything in order, put it in an envelope, shipped it off with all the fees. Cashier's checks, and sent it to San Francisco. And then it was about 3 weeks later.
They gracefully sent it.
They didn't send us an email.
No.
They just mailed it back to our original addresses, and then the note inside was, and they took the processing fee.
Oh, of course.
Of course, because they processed it.
Right.
So there you go. And said that you have to apply in person. So all of our paperwork was in the States at that point.
Yeah.
So essentially my biggest gripe is if you have one office telling you one thing, you have emails telling you this, and even on their website it said that you could mail in the application to San Francisco.
Yeah.
It still said that.
Really?
It still said
We
it.
verified that. And so that's my biggest gripe is like, okay, how come we're getting this misinformation from different offices for the same company, or what have you? Even that was different from what the website said.
Yeah. So there wasn't any like specific reason why? Like maybe there was you guys fell into some kind of
Well, it's just
loophole
that
or
part of
something,
the
or-
United States, they require you to apply in person. Everybody from
But
Washington,
my
Oregon, Idaho,
point
California
is-
has to go to San Francisco in person.
But my point is, on the website for the West Coast, it said you could mail it in.
Exactly. So
But yet now you have to.
now you have to be there in
You
person.
have to be there in person, and especially if we're the West Coast, we have to go to San Francisco, and that's what we're told in New York. For those that are listening, please look up your home state and which office you need to apply at. Whether you could do, because Washington D.C. may still take mail-in. I don't know.
And actually,
Maybe
since we've
call.
applied,
Yeah.
no, they don't answer the phone.
They don't.
Oh man.
They're so backed up.
I was going to say, yeah, I don't think they would take calls.
No, actually,
call.
they do have a phone number on there and emails, but you'd be hard pressed to get an email back or a phone call through because they are so inundated. And like he said, they process for over several countries. So, can you imagine the traffic that they get on a daily basis? And it's not a huge company. So, yeah, you just have to trust what you read online or, from files or whatever. Even when it says you can mail it in, that was not true. That was not true in our case. So.
Yeah. So we did apply in person. He checked all this, checked all the paperwork, put it in line. It says, okay, you guys are good, and you guys should hear in the next 120 days whether we're going to get the approval for the D-7 or not.
Right.
So what we did is, a lot of people, there's a couple different things about leaving your passport there. I personally don't want to leave my passport anywhere with any company until we're approved to mail it in ourselves. So some people are leaving their passport, and this is if you're staying in the United States.
Right.
You could leave your passport and it mails off to the Portuguese consulate, and that's when they give you the actual D-7 stamp and all that, and they put it on there. However, what we did is we decided to keep our passport in order to still travel. But the thing is, we went and got a second passport. So let's say we are abroad here in Albania, we can stay here actually with the passport and mail it essentially to the consulate and still have a passport on us.
Right.
And another side note, it's kind of scary how easy it is to get a second passport. I'm not even joking. We did it in the same day. So we went and applied. I can't remember where we applied at. It was in San Francisco somewhere.
Yeah, we had an appointment there ahead of time to get our second passport. We went in and had the paperwork, and
all you really needed,
you go in the morning and
there's no paperwork. All you really need is a ticket. You say, hey, I'm applying. You just tell them I'm applying for residency, and I had to quote unquote leave my passport with them. Here's my plane ticket we already purchased to leave again. Like, okay, boom, 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 put it in there. Come back at 3 o'clock. You'll have a new passport. And so
I didn't even know you could
it
get
was
a
very expensive though. It was over a couple $100s to get it. We needed it. I think if you could stay in the United States and leave your passport and didn't need to travel, then that would probably be the best way to go, because then they just stamp it, mail it to you when it's ready.
Right.
So I say,
Okay.
don't do what we did.
Right.
That's just a ridiculous thing to do,
Right.
is trying to travel. But we had nowhere to go back to at this point.
Right, we didn't
already-
have a place to go
We
to.
sold
so.
everything. You're renting your place. My place is rented with contracts and everything. So it's like, we have nowhere to go. I mean, where are we going to go? We're going to rent Airbnb for 2 or 3 months while we wait? No way. So that's kind of how we found ourselves here as well. It's like, okay, we're looking for somewhere that's going to be close to Portugal, preferably inexpensive while we're kind of in this limbo period while we're paying for an apartment there. But nonetheless, it's really easy to get a second passport. No joke, it's easy. Kind of scary easy, but.
Well, but it's necessary if we do what we do.
Yeah,
so.
and you know,
it's the best way to go,
but-
rather than being out of the country without a passport.
Right.
That's not an option. So
But on top of that, what VSF or the Portuguese consulate will not mail your passport abroad. They specifically say on their website that you need to be in the United States while you apply. We did not do that. However, we have contacts of where they're going to mail the passport to, and then they're going to mail our passport to us.
yeah,
Side note on that is you're supposed to enter Portugal on that particular passport
on that visa. Yeah.
So eventually, now that our 90 days is up, we're going back to Portugal on May 1st. We're going to enter on a second passport. Now we have to leave the Schengen area and come back on that other passport.
On our visa. So
Okay.
however you want to do it, but you have to enter on that visa, and you're only allowed 2 entries, so that will count as 1 entry.
Right.
Okay.
If you leave the country and come back, that's your second entry within the 8 months.
Yeah,
so that's the rub too. It's like, well, okay,
Just don't do what we did. Just be honest. Just stay in the States and apply there. You know, mail the passport in when you get approved, and you know, just it's.
yeah. And I was going to say, on that note, we found a really great resource on Facebook, which is Americans and Friends PT. I would definitely follow them if you have any questions about how to move overseas, specifically to Portugal. They have topics and files. They're very helpful. Had we known that before we moved, it would have been a different story. So that would be my best advice, is to go there, ask any questions to the group. They're very friendly. It's extensive.
Now, thanks for spending time with us today, and be sure to join us in the second part of our interview, where we discuss adjusting to life in Portugal, cost of living as compared to the United States, and also traveling with 2 French bulldogs.
For more information, be sure to check out the show notes where we have links to everything discussed in this episode.
To find out how you can hear a bonus episode where Johannes takes you step by step through the process of getting your D-7 visa the correct way, you can check out nomadicabundance.com.
You can sign up to be notified when the project goes live and learn how to access a growing collection of guides, ebooks, and resources for digital nomads, slow travelers, or retirees looking to live a more abundant life by slow travel or traveling abroad.
And finally, you can also support the project by sharing this episode or even buying us a glass of wine. Until next time, happy wandering.
Happy wandering.